Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is George Sandmann. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive, the #1 best-selling business advising platform. And this is episode 6 of our Core Concepts series. These are 6 short videos, 5 to 8 minutes, on the methodology and process for growing private business profits and value. And we are now in episode 6. And this is where the rubber meets the road, because we are going to talk about delivering wins, right? Delivering wins. How do you build a thriving advisory business? By delivering client wins. If you never want to look for a client again, deliver wins. Because when you deliver wins, business will find you, right? Your colleagues will want to engage with you. Your clients are going to tell their friends about you. So delivering wins. And to deliver wins, here we're talking, remember in the first episode, we talked about whether you're a 1 or a 5. This is where those of you who want to be the general contractor turning the strategic plan into reality, make it happen. And we're going to talk about the execution leadership system. The execution leadership system is Growth Drive's business operating system, and it is a killer business operating system. So you'll remember in the second episode, we talked about General Mattis's excellent book, Call Sign Chaos, and the concept of intent. Okay, so I pulled another excerpt from his book. You really should read it. It's fantastic. It's about commander's intent, and commander's intent is very similar to executive intent, shareholder intent for the business. Details you don't give in your orders. By the way, not giving details means not micromanaging, are as important as the ones you do. With all hands aligned to your goals, their cunning and initiative unleashed. You'll love that. Cunning in a positive way, right? Smarts, street smarts, can do. Cunning and initiative unleashed. You need only transparent sharing of information. And what is that? Here are the 3 questions. What do I know? Not what I think, but what do I know? What do I have data on? Who needs to know this data? Have I told them? Check, check, check. To orchestrate as opposed to control a coordinated team. I want you to read this 5 times. Ask us for the deck. Get the book. Think about the culture of an organization that meets this very simple paragraph. Guys, this is killer advice, man. This is a very wise man sharing with you. So let's summarize it. All hands aligned to your goals. Think about the implication. What needs to be true for this to happen? Cunning and initiative unleashed. Wow. Cunning and initiative unleashed. What does that look like, right? You are free to go and do as long as it helps us get to our intent within our guiding principles, right? Don't break the law. Transparent sharing of information. Got to be a share bear to be successful. Orchestrate as opposed to control, right? You're the conductor, not blowing on the horn. A coordinated team. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. So let's talk about a team, an entire organism, a business that is aligned and has collaborative accountability. And those play out. Now, you'll recall that in the growth driving methodology, there are 24 growth driving objectives. And I'll editorialize a bit. There's a 25th, which is time to market, right? The impact that the market has on your ability to sell your business and the value you might see. But in our methodology, there are 24 growth driving objectives. 3 of them play out in the execution leadership system and collaborative accountability. Those are effective senior leadership, people, productive and loyal, and strategic culture. And by the way, brand, I'll say it again, brand is the outward manifestation of culture. Meditate on that. Now we're going to get into keeping score, the business flow flash report, which is data with accountability, collaborative accountability. All right, so what does this look like? Here we are we're inside the methodology, if you will. We're inside the process. We are inside Growth Drive's clarity, strategic capacity, and business value analysis. It's software. Software as a service. It's online. Anywhere you have access to the internet, you have access to clarity. And we're in the effective senior leadership objective, and we're looking at the 7 key results. Remember, an average of approximately 5 key results for each of the growth driving objectives. How does what we've covered, everything we've covered, play out here? Well, the shareholders have written time-bound goals for the business, which are shared with the senior leadership team. Execution leadership system. We're sharing. We're being transparent. Remember General Mattis's words. He's a 4-star, by the way, guys. He was the Secretary of Defense. He is a wise, wise man. Senior leadership is accountable to the business vision, mission, and strategy. And by the way, I said it in an earlier episode, as Mark Twain says, and I say every day, if I had had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. We have written the shorter letter. This is an incredibly efficient system. Senior leadership is accountable to the vision, mission, and strategy. There are a lot of implications there. Take C3D, our certification, if you want to understand how this all weaves together better than most. Senior leadership meets regularly to review and discuss progress towards the shareholder goals. Guys, where does collaborative accountability live? Where is there room? Zero room for BS, for escapism? How do we find the light of truth around the room? Regular meetings where we discuss progress towards our shareholder goals. What are our shareholder goals? Those could be money. They can be a lot of things, right? And last but by no means least, okay, people, productive and loyal. Now, we need our employees, and if we think about, with their Cunning and Initiative Unleashed, how do people should be able to explain in 1 or 2 sentences the business's mission and its strategy, the goals, and their role in executing them, right? I can tell you exactly how I fit as a contributor to success. I understand the one number that defines my success, and imagine the human dignity you get from understanding at the end of the day that you don't need an attaboy, a pat on the back, that you understand for yourself, I was supposed to produce 7 and I produced 8. I did a good job today. The dignity that comes from that, the peace of mind, the lack of stress, it cannot be overstated. And they're a member of a team, and every team has documented metrics that define its success. Every team has to produce, I had to produce 8. My team had to produce 40. We did 39. Tomorrow we'll do better. Every team meets frequently. Again, we are sharing data. We are sharing information throughout the organization, down on the shop floor, and they review and discuss progress towards business goals. And guys, I would say that, we'll get into the ELS in a sec. Okay. One more, culture. Culture. The dark horse, the dark matter that binds a business together. The business has written guiding principles, right? And don't show up and tell me that honesty, hard work, and integrity are our guiding principles. Yawn. Those are table Annie. Your guiding principles are what binds this business together. So please, if your business has those, you might point out that they could do better. Right. So we have guiding principles that support execution of the vision, mission, and strategy. And we have exercises for planning. There are exercises in a lot of different places for creating compelling guiding principles that are shared by everyone. Okay. The business understands that maintaining a positive culture is a purposeful exercise and invests time and treasure in promoting the guiding principles. Hello. Well, that's interesting. And the culture creates an ownership sense of belonging. Now, we're talking about an execution leadership system where we are going to strain this engine. Have any of you driven an automobile, a really high-quality automobile where there's no computer cutting the engine out at 6,000 RPM? So we're able to push it through to 10, 11,000 RPMs. I mean, you know the feeling of driving that vehicle? That's what we want to create. We want a business that can withstand that level of strain, of stress, and but approach it with joy. Culture creates an ownership sense of belonging for all employees and contractors. And this has been summarized as the Acme way, okay? Man, strategic culture, guys, if there's a dark matter for getting this all done, culture is it. Cool. Execution leadership system needs binding glue that binds everyone from the chairman to the newest employee who is making the least amount of money in the whole company. Everyone can do, will do. So what are the ingredients? Data. We need data. Well, data comes out of the clarity, strategic capacity, and business value analysis. Data comes out of clarity. We need a map. And we need to agree where we are on the map, right? If the senior leadership team is not aligned around the current strategic capacity, where the business is today, and they're not aligned around and accountable to where it needs to go, think back 2 slides ago. Aligned with and accountable to the shareholders' goals for the business. We need to have a strategic plan that is aimed at the 3 dimensions of growth, because the ultimate measure of business success is that third dimension, maximize transferable value. Now, we have the ingredients. Now we need to mix them up, and we need to run them. We need to run the system, and we need to run a system at tempo. Tempo means we're going to do it every day, and we're going to have the institutional patience to keep at it every day. We're going to look at our decisions. We're going to look at our performance. We're going to decide if our decisions were good decisions. We don't make changes. You make change like the Supreme Court, right? You don't make it lightly. You make changes. Tactical changes are one thing. Strategic changes are another. Tempo. And we're going to do that by sharing data every week, every Monday morning, with collaborative accountability. Now, what does that look like? Great question. We're going to have meetings. Now, Growth Drive has a business operating system. We call it the execution leadership system, to build and maintain tempo. These are agendas, and we have specific training and even facilitation training for helping to deliver annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly meetings. And I'm a huge believer in the power of daily huddles. And you'll see that these go from strategic down to micro tactical. Let's look at how this plays out. Now, you have agendas for the meetings, down to the minute. These are guidelines, guys. This is not a franchise. You're not going to sit there with a stopwatch, but this is a great place to start. We can let the meeting evolve, but you're going to want to stay within. Think of this as a guiding principle for a meeting. Stay within these guidelines, okay? Roughly speaking, these meetings should be fun, though. We have to do this anyhow, right? We have to grow this business anyhow. We might as well have fun doing it, and that goes back to culture. And if there are people, they may be effective, but if they're jerks and disruptive and disliked and confrontational, ask yourself, does it matter how much they contribute? I'm off on a tangent here. Okay, so let's look at if you can do one thing. I've turned business around with doing this one thing, and it happens quickly. You just have to be patient for a few weeks, and you'll see it start to gel, and you'll say, oh my gosh, look at this, it's changing. Let's do an effective weekly meeting. Listen, Gino talks about it. Vern talks about it. Metronomics talks about it. You've got to have better meetings. And the business meeting of the week, start Monday, data in hand, and we're going to run a meeting where we're going to talk about business flow, right? Tactical execution. Let's measure tactical execution and then create collaborative accountability about what's going on. What does that look like? Well, Growth Drive has a business flow scorecard. That scorecard has 14 suggested line items. The one there are a couple of I'd insist on. One is the Moneyball KPI. What is the one thing we need to be measuring? Now, in this instance, it's monthly recurring revenue. I never work cases. I always give them out to advisors in the community, with one exception. I'm running a case with a friend of mine. A friend of mine is a former NFL player, and he is growing his business. And man, is he doing it. He's using the Growth Drive methodology, and it is going bonkers. His MRR is subscribers, but they're unpaid, but his subscribers drive his business model. So figure out what the Moneyball KPI is. That takes some digging, right? That's a workshop. And then let's track gross revenue, net income, net margin. Let's track customer satisfaction. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these track with, especially with that first dimension of growth, creating predictable profits and cash flow, net promoter score, customer sat. What's the value of our sales pipeline? How many marketing leads are we generating? When you start tracking this data, you can figure out pipeline velocity. We generate, for every 100 leads we generate, we are going to generate $12,963 at 94 days. You can get down to that level. You need to keep track like this. Keeping score is powerful. And one of the things that's, it should be on this screenshot, but it's not. One of the things you should be tracking is a strategic execution. And it's very simple. Okay, guys, we're working on people productive and loyal, and we're working on the compensation issue. Where are we? Are we green, amber, or red? Green is go. Everything's good. We've got the work flowing. Everybody's fine. Amber, there's a roadblock. Red, we're stalled. And the CEO's job is to ask why. And we teach this in C3. You're going to get a copy of this report, and if you're not sitting in that Monday meeting, you're going to get a copy of the report at the same time the CEO does. You're going to read it. You're going to pick up the phone, grab a cup of coffee, call the CEO and say, hey, man, I see that cash flow is down 13,000. Why? What's going on? What do you see? What am I not hearing? Great touch point for you to stay in constant communication with your client. All right. Now, guys, a lot of what I've just shown you, the execution leadership system, the measurements, the rhythm, the growth driving objectives, the key results, the execution guidance is embedded in 90.io, the best in class project management software for democratizing execution throughout an organization and allowing you to have eyes on in a non-disruptive way. So growth drive methodology and process is embedded in 90. I'll show you a couple of screenshots. Here is predictable profits and cash flow. We're working on effective senior leadership. You can see the 6 of the key results here called out, and the execute guidance is in here as well. Here, dimension 2, predictable growth. We're working on strategic vision, planning, execution. All of this pushed down with accountability. I'm not going to train you on 90, but the fact that that we are connected with 90 is incredibly powerful. Ask me how and why, and we'll be happy to let you know more. There's a ton of training and support, guys. Ton of training and support in the system, and starts with our launch course. You have the optional C3D certification, and let's do some key takeaways. We just spent 6 sessions together, so here are your takeaways. Strategic intent defines the destination and qualifies your client as to their commitment to reaching that destination. Intent, not goals. Strategic capacity measures a business against the best in class and measures its ability to outperform its peers. And this is a way of looking outside the business and saying, yeah, I don't care what we're doing is great, but what are others doing that we might adopt as processes, as behaviors that might make us better? Who's doing better out there and how can we copy them? Strategic capacity drives growth and value. The 3 dimensions of growth create predictable profits, growth, and transferable value. Execution is led, right? This is leadership. It's not managed, and it's driven by all the stakeholders in the business. And transparency and collaborative accountability are hallmarks of a strategic culture which delivers wins. So, cool. Listen, thank you. 6 episodes. I hope you enjoyed them. And if you have any questions, use the QR code, connect with us. Again, you don't have to be a customer for us to have a conversation, and happy to deliver value to you, to learn from you. We'd love to get to know you. So thank you very much. Be good out there.